Today marks day 2 of the DNC. President Obama among those to speak today, following President Biden's emotional speech Monday night. His message to the American people: I gave my best to you. Mr. Biden also calling for the party to unite around Vice President Harris, who made a surprise opening night appearance. Protesters breaking through security barriers at the DNC set up by the Secret Service before being confronted by Chicago police in riot gear. A few thousand marched, mostly peaceful. At least 4 people were arrested.
And with a grateful heart, I stand before you now on this August night to report that democracy has prevailed. Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved.
President Biden, during his late-to-start speech at the DNC's opening night, as we now know, hit 30 days since the president dropped out of the race. Let's bring in Democratic strategist, pollster, and political consultant Mark Mellman. Mark, good morning. First, how would you grade the president's speech? Do you think he seemed a little bit bitter? Did he seem angry? Did he seem happy?
I think it was an A-plus speech. He wasn't bitter or angry at all. He was talking about the achievements of. He was talking about the importance of preserving our democracy, preserving our American way of life. I thought it was a speech that rang true and rang strong for Americans across the country.
This was supposed to be a primetime speech, as you well know, Mark. It started very late, after 11 p.m. Eastern. What message, in your opinion, does that send? What's supposed to be Democrats honoring the president was moved out of prime time?
Well, I'm not sure how the schedule worked out, to tell you the truth. It was not in prime time, you're right. But I'm sure it was seen by lots and lots of Americans. And almost everybody will see at least some excerpts of that speech, as they're seeing on your air right now.
President Biden said America is prosperous. Crime is historically low. Border crossings are down. I do have to talk about polling that has indicated many Americans see all of that much differently, particularly on the economy. When we go to the grocery store, there's a recent poll also found nearly half of Americans consider themselves broke. Do you think this was a missed opportunity for our current president to speak to some of those concerns?
Well, I think he did speak to some of those concerns. I think, look, what the polling data tells us is that people recognize there are some bright spots in the economy, job creation, for example, something the president has been very adept at, something he's talked about, something he's worked on. Those jobs are being created. And the president talked about the CHIPS Act and how the huge investments are being made in fabricating computer chips in the United States for the first time. So we have that supply chain protected within the United States, and we create jobs. So there's a bright jobs picture. The president spoke to that. There is a concern about the president talked about the fact that he has, through his agency, just reduced drug prices for seniors and for others. That's an important component of this, and I'm sure Vice President Harris will be talking about that in her plans for reducing prices in more detail during her address.
Former President Obama, Michelle Obama, they'll be speaking tonight at the DNC. That's a lot of star power for the Democrats. How long do you think the so-called Harris honeymoon will last, especially considering we still don't know much about her policy?
Well, I think the honeymoon's going to last all the way to Election Day, and I think she's going to prevail on Election Day. The reality is people are really concerned about Donald Trump. They have been very concerned about Donald Trump. The reality is they were concerned about, rightly or wrongly, fairly or unfairly, I think wrongly and unfairly, but they were concerned about President Biden's age and physical abilities. That's off the table. That was the thing that was preventing them from abandoning Donald Trump. Now they're free to abandon Donald Trump, and I think people are abandoning him. He's got a ceiling that he seems unable to exceed, and that is bad news for Donald Trump.
Mark Mellman, thank you for the context, sir. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.